Okay, so welcome to today's session, everybody, on getting into publishing. And we're really pleased to have Samantha Rogers with us here from the Society of Young Publishers Ireland. Hopefully you'll get some really good tips and advice from her. I think Samantha's going to give an overview of the Society of Young Publishers in Ireland, some background on them, what they do. She's going to talk about her own life and career to date, and then she's going to give you an overview of the publishing industry. So thanks a million, Samantha, and I'm going to hand over to you now.
Thank you so much, Patsy, and thank you, Aisling, as well. I'm not sure if you're here, but thank you for all your help in getting me here today. So as Patsy said, my name is Samantha Rogers, and I am the Student Outreach Officer this year at the Society of Young Publishers Ireland, or SYP Ireland, which I will refer to as probably mostly throughout the presentation. So welcome to the Getting Into Publishing webinar in collaboration with the University of Limerick with the Career Services there. So I am going to, as Patsy said, just give you an overview of what SYP Ireland does and what SYP does in general. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I'm going to talk a little bit about how SYP has helped me in my own career, how it's helped me to launch myself in publishing here in Ireland. And I'm going to talk about publishing in general. I'm sure questions may come up. Feel free to either, if there's a chat function there, if you want to throw them up there throughout the presentation, I'll deal with them all at the end. Or also if you want to wait to the end and you're comfortable asking me on mic, that's perfect. So any questions you may have, feel free to fire away. So I will get going. So who are we? I'm not hold us in suspense. I'm just gonna put them all out of the screen so we can see them so I can talk through them. Okay, so who are we? So we are made up of 8 branches. Okay, so we have 7 regional branches. You can see them down the bottom there. So London, Oxford, ourselves here in Ireland, Wales, North and Southwest. So North and Southwest of England and Scotland. So it is still quite UK centric, but the Irish committee is quite strong this year. It's completely voluntary. So there's over 100 volunteers running the show behind the scenes. So there's 12 of us in Ireland at the moment. So I'll talk through the different roles and stuff later on as well. Those 7 regional branches feed up to the kind of central UK branch. So we report to them and they will cover areas that are not covered by those regional branches. We are nearly 10 years old, our own branch. So we were established in 2016. So if you haven't heard of us before, hopefully you'll know more about us going home today. And we also have, so we are a membership society, so you can subscribe and become a member. There's a yearly fee, which I will talk a little bit about later. And if you have any questions about that, you can let me know. What I would say is obviously we're very, very happy to have subscribed members, but it's also, we hope we're an organization where you can really get a lot out of us, even on a non-paid basis, I suppose. So there's plenty of free resources there, and all of our events in general so far in Ireland have been free as well. So good to know as well. And also, yeah, so we're quite an old organization in terms of what we have in the UK. So we're over 75 years old, which is cool. So who am I? Why am I here? Why am I allowed to talk about this today? So I started off my university professional career, I suppose, in the University of Galway. I was always enamored with literature, with books, with writing. So I decided to pursue creative writing in Galway, and I also studied languages. So I studied French and Spanish. You can see that the end date on my degree. So I ended my degree in 2021. So that was kind of on the coattails of COVID. It was quite a strange time trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So initially I decided that I wanted to go into hospitality. So I went and I lived on the Aran Islands for 2 years and I worked in hospitality there. I was a hospitality manager. It was a really useful learning experience, but it made me realize that I didn't really want to work in that that industry wasn't for me and I needed to return to the drawing board. So I decided, okay, let's go back to what I know. I love books, so that's what I'm going to pursue. What I've done since then, so firstly I have on there, so I'm an editor at the Milk House. It's an online literary journal that focuses on rural subjects. I've been an editor there since 2023. And I suppose the highlight of that has been we are bringing out our first print anthology next, or it's actually going to be this weekend, our 2026 Best in Rural Writing Anthology. So very excited about that. As well as that, I suppose what I'm here to talk about today, my role as Student Outreach Officer at SYP Ireland. So what does that entail? I maintain and create good working relationships with universities, career services, and I also put on and organise events of this nature for students at 3rd level who feel already that they're interested in working in publishing and would like to know more about the industry. what that has done for me in turn, it has opened up, I suppose, opportunities for me professionally. And I'm currently undergoing or undertaking a digital marketing internship at Bullon Press, which is quite a maverick press in terms of the Irish publishing landscape. It's the only press in Ireland that focuses solely on literature and translation. So it's a huge, particularly for me as a language student, it's a real honor to work there. I've worked there in the past a little bit in an editorial capacity on certain projects, but there I handle all their social media management, certain publicity demands. I'll talk about publicity a little bit later, as well as event organization. So that's really key to what I do. So what's our mission? I'll fly through these. Just talk about this for a little bit. So our mission essentially is to demystify, I'll use that a little bit today. So demystify the publishing industry. I don't know how much you've encountered with it yet, but maybe when you go and start looking for jobs or doing a bit more research, you might find that it feels like the doors are kind of closed. It's a very small Dublin-centric industry, and there's unfortunately just not as many opportunities, say, as there would be maybe in the UK, purely just because we're a smaller place with a smaller number of publishing houses and therefore a smaller number of jobs. But don't let that put you off, because if you want to work in this industry, I believe you absolutely can. So I've had it described to me at events that I've been to before with SYP as an opaque industry. So we're trying to kind of make it clearer, be able to see into it, understand how it all works, the moving parts. So we're here to empower aspiring and developing publishing professionals. So that would be people who are either at the very beginning of their careers trying to get into the industry, or those who maybe have succeeded in getting an entry-level job somewhere and are hoping to move up and progress. And we also want to maintain a supportive network. So that doesn't just mean a professional network, although it's an excellent tool for building up your professional network. We also want to create, a social network of like-minded individuals. So things like our socials, our book clubs, that's a great way to do that, to meet people like you who are also interested in talking about books, because at the core, that's kind of what we all are. We also want to encourage an inclusive, diverse, and accessible landscape. So we want a publishing landscape that reflects the society that we live in, so that everyone is involved and all viewpoints are incorporated into that. Down below, you have the three main streams that SYP works alongside. So into and ahead, that's what we mostly work with. Our launch stream is something we hope to work on a bit more in the next couple of years. But into focuses on people like yourselves who are at the beginning, are only starting to think about it. So people who are looking to get into the industry. And then ahead would be maybe for someone more like me who has their foot in the door and then is trying to do something with that. Okay. Things that we do. A couple of things I'll touch on here. So digital and in-person events. So that kind of goes without saying, here I am today. So digital events like this, webinars, panels, interviews, for things like that. In-person events would be more so like pop-up. I do a lot of pop-up information stands in universities. Also I've organised some events in collaboration with the Irish Writers Centre. We've done events on book talk, we've done events on indie publishing, we've done events on manuscript, on authors as well. So there's a great mix. If you're a writer as well, this is also something you would be interested in. Maybe you're not specifically or so focused on publishing, but you are interested in writing. Definitely something you should consider. And we have a podcast as well. You can check that out. It's really interesting, and it has contributions from all of the regional branches, so not just Ireland, and same with the blog. Our resource centre, which I'm kind of going to use some of the resources from there today to talk about publishing in general, but there's more information there if you want to have a look at it. We do have a jobs board, which is also really useful. Now that is behind a paywall, so that is something that comes with the membership. So maybe it's worth it in that case. It collates all the jobs in Ireland and the UK, and it's also always doesn't promote any jobs that are unpaid. It's always jobs that are very transparent about, how much they're offering to pay a candidate. So we try to keep it as fair as possible on that front, because we all need to eat. We all want to be paid for the work that we do. And then we have our mentorship scheme. So that's really, I think, something that everyone should maybe pay attention to. It is essentially, it's a 6-month mentorship program. It's running at the moment, so we won't start looking for mentees until next year again. I can give you more information on that if you want it, but it matches mentees with mentors, and you can obviously ask and request to work with a mentor from a specific area in publishing, and it's constructive career guidance and feedback over a 6-month period. huge. Definitely if you're struggling to get any experience in the industry, it can be a brilliant way to get that insight, I suppose, and start to build your contacts up as well, because you might meet your mentor might introduce you to someone else, they might introduce you to someone else, and suddenly your network is already expanding without you even having maybe done an interview. Things like the Spare Room project and Spare Zoom project, they're more focused on the UK, but something that we hope to develop over here. The idea is that if you get, say, an internship, say in Dublin, for example, if we use an Irish example, you're from somewhere else in the country. We know that accommodation is a nightmare at the moment. Say you have a 4-6 month internship, you're trying to find a room to lease or like a sublet, the Spare Room project will help you with that. Then we also have an imprint magazine, so that's part of the membership as well. So that'll be sent out to your house monthly. And lastly, student outreach, which is me, working with universities and organizing events and just generally keeping contact and letting you know what's going on. So all good, hopefully till there. So now we're going to talk a little bit about publishing industry, and what does the industry include. So I'll put the first few out first. I've had enough suspense for one day, I think, and enough anxiety. So first of all, what does the industry include? What's it made up of? So trade publishing, these are all good words to know. Maybe something you mightn't come across in your everyday, but it's good to know, particularly if you're looking to work in publishing. These are the kind of terms that will come up in an interview that you'll be expected to understand. So trade publishing is the books that you see when you walk into a bookshop, okay? So it's your fiction, your non-fiction, your children's, your spec fiction, your romantasy, your Sarah J Maas, all of those, okay? They're all trade. Most of the books we read are trade. Then you have your educational textbooks. So what you'd be using primary, secondary, and third level education, that prescribed texts, those prescribed texts that we don't necessarily always want to read, but we have to. They're two different kinds of publishing. So it's good to know that educational does exist. You could work in that. That's a facet of the industry that is open to you if you want it to be. And so examples, I suppose. So if you're thinking trade publishers, I suppose I'm thinking of one that does both. If you've ever heard of Gill Books, they do both, okay? Most of them, though, are separate. Like Folens would be an educational publisher, Edco, Trade, anyone like Penguin, Hachette, Simon & Schuster, Faber, etc. Academic publishing, so think of all your professors, lecturers. I'm sure most, if not all of them, have been published through academic means. So that's also a way in. And I've been told that it's a good way in because it's the path less traveled. So something to maybe note. And then agencies. So we're going to talk about agenting in a few minutes, but basically working not for, say, a press, but working between the author and the publisher, and kind of acting as that bridge. So acting on a third party basis. Then other ways you can work kind of tangentially with the industry without being directly in it. Newspapers and magazines and journalism, so writing. Libraries, so obviously librarianship is a vocation in itself, if that's something you're interested in. Charities and societies and organizations, bookshops, book selling is huge. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, and also literary festivals. So if you're interested in, if you feel like you've got great administration skills, great organizational skills, if you're really good interpersonally, talking to people, communicating, etc., maybe festival administration is something for you. So, and definitely a very exciting, fast-paced job. So let's talk about the types of jobs that are available out there. I can't see a show of hands, and I don't know if we can do that, but I'd love to know, if possible, are there many people that would like to be editors, or is editorial maybe the most popular of the most popular for everybody, do we think? Yeah. So we have a couple of hands there. Yeah, for sure. When I started, and obviously you can see from my credits that I do edit, and I love editing, and it's something I would like to do. But it's good to do your research, and if you do all your research and you decide that you still want to be an editor, that is great, and you should do that, and I hope you do get to do that. But it's really good to understand a bit more about what else goes into the book, because that's, once the manuscript is edited, it has to go through so many other processes before you get what's on the shelf. And even when you get it on the shelf, the people who are involved in getting it there, the people, all the hands that it passes through. So I'm not going to go through editorial, because I know we all know what that is. In terms of production, so production is really, really key part to the process of making a book. So that's basically creating the product, okay? That's looking at the package, looking at how it sits on the shelf and saying, what do we want it to look like? What do we want to tell the design team in terms of what we think the cover should look like? What kind of paper are we going to print it on? And they work directly with the printer. Distribution, I don't know if that's something that people are aware of or what it is, but basically it involves um getting the book to the customer. It's kind of, you deal with the shipping, you deal with the warehouses. Warehouses are, I didn't realize how huge the whole concept of storing books in warehouses, like that is such a huge conversation, and it's such a headache for publishers, particularly in Ireland, particularly working with the likes of Amazon and stuff like that. So if you can get your head around those kind of conundrums, you are immediately more attractive to an employer. So something to have a look at. As you know, mightn't be the most exciting job in comparison to some of the other, but there could be some people out there who think, okay, that could be for me. I could do that, because there's certainly a gap in the market for an understanding of how that all works. Marketing, so marketing the latest title, marketing your backlist, marketing a publisher's backlist is incredibly important. You can, particularly for small publishers who I've been working with, so far. So, good social media skills, a good eye for detail, what's going to attract someone to pick up a book off the shelf. Agenting, so if you want to work this is obviously for those really, really people, I suppose. So if you've got great interpersonal skills, and you're passionate about writing, and you kind of have an idea of what you see as good writing, then maybe being an agent is something that you would be really good at. So representing the author, you would be pitching, and you normally work in a specific area. So maybe you really like romantasy, maybe you really like weird girl fiction. I've seen a lot of agents reaching out looking for those. You might put a call out for specific submissions, and then you'll go and submit that to publishing houses on their behalf. And it's a really nice relationship, I think, between the agent and the author. So that could be for you. Bookselling is it's so focal to the whole process. As you know, we all love bookshops. Anyone who's interested in publishing is gonna love a lovely bookshop. So basically what we're saying there is that bookselling, it is, I suppose, at its core a retail job, but it's so much more than that. And bookselling is, the bookseller is so key to your book doing well, because what happens in most bookshops is you walk in and there's so many options. So what you'll often do is you'll go off what the bookseller tells you, the recommendations, the book of the month, what they're putting on their social media. And as well as that, if you want to work in publishing and you feel like it's hard to get any of the above jobs I've discussed, become a bookseller, because they really, really value that. If you go into an interview and say you've been a bookseller for a year, 2 years, even 6 months, whatever experience you can get, because you have an understanding of buying habits, you have an understanding of the market trends even before it gets back to publishing houses. You see it on the ground. You talk to readers and you see what they're looking for. So that's invaluable from a press or a publishing house's perspective. Go through a couple more of these. I don't want to overload you, but just want to give you kind of a taste of each one. Sales, so that would be working directly with retailers and bookshops. So instead of the reader being your customer, it's the bookshop. So you're trying to get these books into the bookshops, and I suppose creating relationships with bookshops and book buyers, and matching the right titles to the right bookshops, because how many times have I said bookshops? But some bookshops are very specialized, and they will stock certain kinds of, I suppose, genres, thematic kind of choices that they make. So it's building those relationships as well. Other things then, so rights. So rights is about like acquiring maintaining rights for different formats and different territories. So making titles as available as possible. So whether that be in print, ebook, audiobook, or whether it be you're selling a book in Europe or you're selling it in the US, for example. So for example, the publisher that I work for, we have EU rights to our titles. They're all translated from other languages into English, but a lot of our books are published in the US. So we don't have rights to sell them in the US, but we have rights to sell them throughout Europe. So the rights manager or a rights assistant would be dealing with those kind of things. Then we have design, so fun if you're artistic and you like working with, if you like tech as well, you'd be very good in this. And one piece of advice, if you're going to write anything down, I say this is something someone told me at another event I did in Belfast recently. Learn how to use InDesign. If you don't know how to use InDesign, get a free trial now and start using it, because apparently no one knows how to use it, and if you can use it, it'll get you in so many doors. So design is talking about the visual identity of the book. So it's not just the book jacket, it's the inside, it's the typesetting, the font, all that kind of stuff. And also, as well as that, your point of sale material. So anything that you give to bookshops, like bookmarks, tote bags, posters, marketing materials, anything like that. So that is kind of an overview of the main ones. Is there anything else there that anyone wants me to go through, or any questions on that? No, I don't think so. That's okay. Perfect. Well, I will keep going then. So what can you do now? So that's probably the key, really. So you're in university. I don't know what year you guys are in or what you guys are studying. It might be interesting actually to find out in a second. I might ask you before I finish what you guys are studying. But what can you do now? You might feel like you're limited. But there are things you can do. And from my own experience as well, I wish that I started a little bit earlier. I wish I'd known about SYP when I was in college. I just wish I had a better idea maybe of what I wanted to do. And I now I'm figuring that out, and that's perfectly fine. But there, if you want to start now, that is definitely, I think, a great idea. So there's two prongs to this. Get involved in any way that you can, and number two is the skills, the hard and soft skills. So getting involved, how can we do that? Volunteering, so SYP is a great place to start. I will sing its praises, not just because I'm representing it today, but I really, really feel it has been so integral to everything that has happened in the last year for me in terms of developing skills and gaining more experience, and also getting bigger and better opportunities. And it's getting better all the time. So I'm going to talk a bit about how you can get involved with SYP in a little few minutes. Other places you can look is the Publishing Post. So that is a magazine that focuses on people. It basically provides information and articles for people who want to learn about publishing. And you can also write as a contributor for them. So that might be something you might be interested in. Volunteering at any event or festival in your locality. So think of all your festivals. Ireland has such a rich array of fantastic literary festivals. For example, Court in Galway. I know that's not that far from Limerick. I know there is a Limerick Literary Festival happening next year. We have West Cork Literary Festival and Belfast Book Festival. They happen during the summertime. Dublin Book Festival just happened there last week. There's another festival in Dublin in May, I think, next year as well, May time normally. And there's tons, I'm sure, in your own locality, smaller festivals. So get into them and volunteer and meet people and chat. Also, check out your local libraries, check out what's going on with your career services as well, anything that's happening in university, and maybe try content creation. I don't know if that's something that people are doing already, or I'm sure you guys are aware of what BookTok is and what's happening over there, but maybe giving that a go, if you're inclined that way, could be something like a side project while you're in university. Because when you go in and you get into an interview and you sit down in front of an interviewing team in a publishing house or a small press or whatever it may be, they're going to take notice of the fact that you've been spending, a couple of months, years working on this project, putting your own time into it. It shows passion, it shows interest, it shows innovation, initiative. It shows kind of, I suppose, I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but it shows, it also, it'd be good, I suppose, to pick, I suppose, what are you interested in? If you're interested in romantasy, if you're interested in literary fiction, if you're interested in translation, and if you want to attract or stand out to those kind of presses that you'd like to work for, then maybe that's something to consider now. So if you want to work for the likes of, not sure if you've heard Charco Press, which is a literary translation press based in Scotland. So maybe you could work on some content that when you show it to them, when you interview for them, if we're being really aspirational, that they can see that and see that interest has been there from the very beginning, and that's why they should give you the job over maybe someone who has found them maybe a little bit later. Just an idea. I'm not sure, but yeah, that would be something that I would consider. And I've seen you see a lot of it online, and even people on the committee with me are doing that, and it's leading them to, you know, to be gaining attention, I suppose, from presses and stuff like that. In terms of paid opportunities, obviously, ideally, we'd all like to be paid for all the work that we do. So apart from volunteering, look at book selling. Like I said, it's coming up to Christmas now. Look at the likes of Dubrays. They normally take on seasonal staff. I'm not sure if there is a Dubrays in Limerick, but if there is one in your locality or somewhere nearby, or any bookshop basically that's hiring for the Christmas season, it's a great time to try and get in. Internships, I would say do your research on that as soon as possible. Like, do the research good few months before you're hoping to start one. So just to get a sense of the lay of the land and what's available. And then also work experience. So if there is a local business, if you're lucky enough to live near local businesses that are like involved in publishing, maybe reach out to them, write them an email, explain what you want. In most cases in the industry, people are really kind, and if they have the time and the means, they will do it. And they mostly, you know, most of them are very much all about paying that forward, because that's probably how they started themselves. And then the second prong to that, as I said, is the skills. Okay, so these are the skills you need in any job, you know, essentially. So like I said, if the getting the publishing volunteering or the paid publishing position isn't possible, and you do end up in a different field for a while and you want to pivot at some stage, which is kind of what I did, find something that has these skills, that you need these skills for, and they will transfer really well when you do find that perfect job that you want. Organization, obviously, time management, particularly publishing, but depending on the size of the press or the publishing house you're working for, and depending on the number of titles they bring out per year and the number of departments that are involved. Like some of those bigger presses or bigger publishing houses like Penguin, all those jobs I was talking about, they're all departments. There could be, you know, 12 departments covering all those different jobs. Say in a smaller press like where I work at the moment, there's 2 people wearing a lot of hats. So either way, you're going to be working across a lot of projects and a lot of different jobs at once. So being able to manage those, to meet deadlines, to prioritize your workload, being able to show that you can do that is something that they're going to want. Communication, your interpersonal skills, obviously, regardless of the job, but they have to be good. So making sure that you're good with that. Attention to detail, you know, like if you want to be an editor, we all know how important it is to pay attention to every letter, every punctuation mark on the line, making sure that it's perfect, or the way we want it to be. And it's the same with everything else. So that accuracy and attention to detail, it will be important across the board. Then teamwork. So like I said, whether it's a big team or a small team, there's many hands coming together to make a book. So being able to work with people is vital. It's vital. Being flexible as well. And then lastly, something I'll talk about for a second, familiar with systems and applications. Like I said, InDesign, if you haven't written that down, if you're taking notes, write that down and put a big ring around it or a line under it or whatever. And things like that are really, really useful. Other things that might be useful as well, if you're interested in marketing, maybe check out Canva. You probably know how to use it already. Something I came to a bit later, but I feel like the few years younger than me, you guys probably already know how to use it. As people as well I'm native to social media and stuff, but you guys would be even more native, I suppose, inheriting it slightly earlier. So you probably have no issues with these things. Also, applications like MailChimp, if you're doing newsletters and stuff like that, WordPress for website design, and yeah, and also obviously a very good, excellent, in-depth knowledge of Microsoft suites and all that kind of stuff, Microsoft Office, Excel. All those are basic, but yeah, still really, really important, particularly Excel. But yeah, so I would say, but InDesign is definitely the biggest one there, I would say. Okay, so I won't be talking for too much longer, I promise. But what have I gained in terms of, so this is my kind of elevator pitch for SYP before I land you with the next slide. So what have I gained? So this is kind of how SYP has shaped my career. So the first section is what I've done, I suppose, or the highlights of my time on the committee. Not only have I met fantastic women, we're a committee of 12 women this year, but we welcome everyone to sign up, and we would love to have more of a balance maybe as well next year, and a representation of everyone. But I've met fantastic people, met like-minded individuals, and I've also gotten a chance to really hone my event organization experience. So highlights for me would be pop-up event. I had a pop-up event in February in Trinity College Dublin. I got to attend on behalf of SYP. I got to attend the Belfast Book Festival, which was fantastic, and we got to spend the whole day at the festival, access all of the talks for free. So if that's not a perk, I don't know what is. One of my favorite things I've done this year is I organized an demystifying independent publishing event. That was the title, in the Irish Writers Centre in July, with 3 panelists. And it was really, really fantastic. I was delighted with how it turned out. We had a Getting Into Publishing event at Queen's in October, so just last month. We had 4 panelists, local publishing professionals from Belfast, talking to university students. If that's something that you guys would be interested in having in UL, definitely let Patsy know, and maybe that's something we can organise in the future. And obviously today is also a highlight, getting to talk to you guys at our Getting Into Publishing webinar. So not only after that then, so my experience has been expanded in that area, it's also expanded and widened my professional network. So I've met a lot of people, I've made a lot more contacts, and those conversations that I have at these events and at other events in my other suppose my other roles has led to interviews, whereas I wasn't getting interviews before because it is quite competitive. But getting my name out there, telling people that I work with SYP, telling them what I've been doing, it's all gone such a long way. And then lastly, in opening up not just my network, but opening me up to employment opportunities. So Bullon, I totally credit my experience at SYP to getting to landing this job with Bullon that I have now. And I will credit it with any other job that comes down the pipeline for me as well. So the highlights that I've had since I started working at Bullon would be organising a book tour, which I did last month. I got to attend the Indie Press Network training day in London. That was 2 weeks ago. I was at the annual Irish Publishers Conference at Dublin. That was last week. And we have a 2-day event next week in Dublin. November's been a very busy month for events. Next week we have a 2-day event, and it's the Dublin Small Press Fair. So that'll be fantastic as well. And there's plenty more to come. We have another title coming out next year, so we're starting to work on that. So that's incredibly exciting to see, help make decisions on book covers, talking about color, talking about design, and just being there for all the little steps along the way. So this is my big pitch. So our volunteer application deadline has been extended until the 24th of November for next year's committee. So if you have any interest at all, please join us and apply. So these are the roles that are available. Okay, so we have communications officer, so 2 types. We have email marketing and social media. So email marketing, I was talking about MailChimp, so that would be looking after our monthly newsletter, and social media will be maintaining our social media platforms and our social media presence. It's mostly on Instagram at the moment, but if we've any people out there who really love TikTok, we would love to hear from you guys, because that's kind of where we want to put our energy into next year. If you're looking to do a bit of writing or producing, so we're looking for digital content officers for our blog and our podcast. So if you want to learn how to make a podcast, that would be a really great opportunity to do that. We also have 2 events officer roles. So we had 2 amazing events officers this year. I also was moonlighting as an events officer earlier on in the year. We've had some fantastic, such a high standard of events coming from that team this year. So if you'd like to get involved there, learn more about event organization, and get into these rooms and talk to these publishing professionals yourselves, that could be for you guys. We have a role going for inclusivity officer, super important role. The main thing that Esfantia did this year was she organized an inclusivity survey, so that would be something that you would be doing next year. If you want to go for my job at the moment, so student outreach officer, so you could be doing things like this next year, talking to university students, you know, organizing events on campus and both online. That could be something for you. Then we have our membership and mentorship officer. So that person would be involved in maintaining, making sure everything to do with the membership is in order, which is so dealing with customers, but also so it is customer facing in that way, but also the mentorship. So you would be organizing, you would be acquiring mentors, matching mentors and mentees, and overseeing that whole project, making sure that it runs smoothly throughout the year. And then lastly, but definitely not least, our treasurer and secretary. So if you have any interest in any of those roles specifically, and you have any questions, please let me know. Then just a few little links on where you can get more information after listening to this. So we have Publishing Post, which I mentioned. That is a magazine devoted to, I suppose, more information about the publishing industry. So if you want to read up more about the industry and how it works and the different facets of it and the different roles, and also just news in general about what's happening, you can check it out there. Also check out social media. I would say look at if you're interested in digital marketing and working in that capacity, pay close attention to what publishers are posting, the kind of content that they're making. Because you can make it too, and you can understand how they make it. And if you can understand how they make it, then you can make it for them. If that's something you want to do. Look at what Bookstagrammers are doing. Look at what BookTalkers are doing. Look at what does well. And also you have that Publishing Hopefuls Facebook group. So I'm gonna share. I've shared all these slides with Patsy, so she's gonna share them out between you guys, so you'll have all these links here as well. Also just look at publishers' websites. So look at the big five. Look at Penguin. Look at Hachette, HarperCollins, etc. So you have all the list there. But also, if you're interested, like me, in indie publishing, you should definitely look at what they're doing. Indie Press Network is it's based in the UK, but we're hoping to do something like it in Ireland, hopefully soon. But it has all the information on about 80 or 90 really, really cool indie presses between the UK and Ireland. We are members as well, full on. So definitely, if you want more information about who's publishing what's happening in that space, you can check that out. And also check out your local library, check out your local bookshop, find out what's happening in your locality. That's I think a great place to start. And then yeah, so that is me anyway for my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. I hope it was interesting. I hope you took something away from it, hopefully more than one thing. One thing before we open up to questions is I just wanted to mention, so that QR code, which again you will receive it with the slides, that it will take you to our website. So it's syp.org.uk. And then we have our Instagram. So we do have an Irish committee Instagram, but we don't have a TikTok yet. So again, like I said, if you're interested in TikTok and you want to work with SYP next year, definitely mention that in your application. And then we have our email down below. So if you have any specific questions you don't want to ask me now, but you'd like to contact me afterwards, you can contact me via that email there. And just something interesting to note, that hashtag that I have there, it's actually Work in Publishing Week this week, which wasn't on purpose, but it's fallen really nicely. So if you put that hashtag, plug that hashtag in anywhere, you'll find tons of content from like a lot of publishing houses, particularly the big five, are talking, and they're giving tips about how to get in, how to interview tips, application tips, how to write your CV, skills, hard and soft, that you can develop now. So it's a great place to start, and they're literally giving away their secrets. So I think you should take them. So I'm going to open the floor up to questions now. I'm just going to take this down, if that's okay. And yeah.
So Samantha, I'm thinking I'm going to stop recording, okay? And then people might want to ask a question, but maybe you might feel more comfortable if I stop recording. Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, whatever suits.